Good evening, and now some people have said good morning as we kick off another discussion, another perspective on managing change through effective communications. Do you trust yourself? You know that we're all out here managing our lives, cultivating our relationships, and certainly developing our professional presence. Along the way, doubt will crawl in. Along the way, we'll find that things don't always go according to a script. And despite our best accolades and academic standings, we have found that many people become disenfranchised, illusioned, and work into a pain, suffering environment. Why is that? So we're going to explore some areas tonight, and I'm going to start off with a little prose that I've had around for, oh my goodness, this placard has been around with me for the last 20 years. And I revisit it as many times as necessary, and I reread it with the same passion and seeking a fresh understanding. It's called Don't Quit, and it's on many a person's board. I'm sure some of you have it at your job, your place of work. And I'll reiterate, how often do you revisit it and read it with a desire to have a more fuller understanding? When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the depths are high, you want to smile, yet you have to cry. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, and every one of us sometimes learns. And many a failure turns about when we might have won had we stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You will succeed with another blow. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems so incredibly far. So stick to that fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worse that we do not quit. So I'm going to take portions of this and work it into what I refer to in my coaching is 6 stages of trust. And I think you'll find the perspective is fresh, the perspective is certainly reflective, and the perspective is how do we gain that trust with others? Now remember, I've said in project and change management, the outcome, the optimum desirable outcome is how can we produce, affect mutually beneficial outcomes. You'll hear me say this time and time again. It must be mutual, must be a benefit to all stakeholders. And working with whether it's a sorority, fraternity, whether it's a community group, a church, whether it's a practice, the goal is in our communication, we don't quit until we gain those outcomes, those objectives. We talk about alignment optimization. We talk about fundamental interpersonal communication. We talk about self-talk. All of these require, 1, stick-to-itiveness, a resolution-based attitude. What is our intent? Are we there just to gain what we want and walk away? Or are we there to leave a pleasant, emotionally charged, I want to come back fragrance? I'll use that word. That's a nice word. That people want to come back. Now, many of us, and certainly myself included, have trials and tribulations. Are you willing to continue to go back and revisit, look for fresh information, put together a combination, a different combination of steps that can help you and those achieve what you want? Are you willing to go back and help those that perhaps you did not have a good experience and rekindle that relationship? And when I say relationship, in business. When I say the relationship where you go to chamber meetings and things don't work out well, or your timing is not right, perhaps your approach is not the best. Are you willing to go back and reprogram, repurpose, recontextualize those relationships? What is interesting about that is that we tell people to write a diary. We tell people to keep a scrapbook. We take notes. We do memos. We do research papers, position and white papers. What's the difference? Position paper is my opinion. I don't necessarily have any factual or research-based support to it, whereas a white paper would. So aren't those just those two progress of what we knew, what we started off with, to where we might be within 6 months, a year? Is that approach not helping us to build trust with ourselves by accumulating knowledge, testing it, having it validated, working with other people, and seeing whether it works for everybody, mutually beneficial outcomes? So we're going to hold this right here. I'm going to keep this right here. And we're going to work through these kind of statements. Because I think we're very quick to look for the new and the best and the fresh and the newest stuff out here. Yet fundamentals, people who get it right, keep going back and rehashing. What am I missing? What combination of ingredients am I missing? How can I better present it? What resources out here are that I haven't engaged with? People especially. Today's social media gives us no excuse not to find better and better resources that can address our challenges. So what's preventing us? What is the hesitation? What is the apprehension? What is the fear? So we talk about 6 stages of trust. Certainty of what we expect from our lives, because at our age, certainly once we're past our teens, there is a reflection of what we have become accustomed to or becoming accustomed to. There's uncertainty, excitement, stimulation, discovery, exploration. We need that. There's significance. Am I contributing something that makes a difference? Are other people acknowledging that? And here's the one I think is probably even more significant when it comes to significance. Is the meaning important to me? Because sometimes the group you're around is not the best group, let's face it, right? They're not the best, with all their great professional intentions and certainly their lay person, say small town and even large city indifference. There's connection. Are we connecting? How are we connecting? Is it a healthy connection? Or are we just slumming it? Are we hiding behind others? Why do we do that? What is the program that has been set in place that we communicate to ourselves day in and day out that we don't matter, therefore I will hide behind some other edifice, some other body of persons, and not be hurt? Exactly, right? I heard that out there. I heard someone say it just before I was about to say it. Growth is absolutely crucial. If the mind doesn't grow, it dies. You know, I put a post up on LinkedIn the other day, and it said something like, and I'm hoping I remember it. No, I don't have dementia yet. At least I wouldn't know if I did, would I? But the phrase was, the brain doesn't know how old it is. Stop telling your mind you're old. Now that was a post right after I had posted an event for my project management chapter in New Jersey, that they're having two young project managers, female project managers, who represent the health environment, and they're going to submit a very, shall I say, explorative and identifying key aspects of project management and helping healthcare information systems for patients. As you know, informatics is a big deal right now, and certainly the security of that. They only got 70 plus hits. I couldn't understand it. With all the project managers out there, everybody should want to know in the industry, healthcare, and then because it's such a broad application, client information, security, cybersecurity, process. Whereas mine, which was just a thought, because I keep hearing people saying I'm, what is it, old G? I thought that was back in the day. People still express that. Pops. I said to my wife the other day, maybe I should shave off my mustache, right? And a gentleman who has a similar gray patina to his facial face said to me, no, I've earned this. And that's what brought me back. Don't quit, right? Our little slogan here tonight. To the brain doesn't know how old it is. Stop telling your mind you're old. In fact, I'll go so far as to say, why are we not looking at those experiences, knowledge, academics, competency, skills? Why are we not looking at those that we've accumulated over the years and said, that's value? That's golden nuggets. That's a kernel of wealth, of knowledge. We call it intellectual capital. And yet people who have not experienced life, have not weathered life, we look at them as if they have the answer. So I think right there, right, that point, what I just said, they have the answer, I think we're missing the point. If you look at most other animals, and we are an animal, sorry for those who don't believe it, go to the biologist, go to the botanist, go to the zoologist. We're animals. Definition. If you go to other animals, you'll see that those who have weathered time are the leaders of the pack. It's not always the strongest, the physicality of your being. It's the mental fortitude. It's the trust. It's still enduring during pain. It's not quitting. It's saying to yourself, I have accumulated some good experiences. I have experienced bad. And I wish, I desire, I have the mental capacity to alter my future, to craft my future. So I will not quit when things get rough. I will succeed with another thrust. Growth, absolutely, unequivocally crucial. And we've seen it across the world where people will stop others, from females, for example, certain nationalities, for example, certain material, reading, the ability to read, where we have libraries which give you access to the internet for free because you're paying your taxes, because you are renters, homeowners, you are stakeholders in your community. We miss the fundamentals. We keep looking for some nebulous entity out there that's going to answer our deepest desires. And yet everything I've just said is within us. Contribution. We need to contribute, and I mentioned that under connection. Significance, connection, contribution. The highest level, by the way, and most of us know, is actually to give your time. Talk to your child, talk to a niece, nephew, any of them. They'll tell you time, because you can't get it back. You will succeed with another blow, because the first time you tried, perhaps it wasn't as focused as you needed. Perhaps the first time the elements, the alignment of the stars. So let's kind of dig deep into this because, again, from my own learning, my own experience, living on 2 different continents, working in 3 different industries, my desire to continue to develop this brain that I've been given in my time, which, by the way, is a whole other conversation. You know, I've said to people, why do they think that as you get older, you don't have the capacity or ability to create? And it's sad because, again, your endurance, your legacy, what you've learned, what you've done, what you haven't done, what you were afraid of in the past should, and I use that word, should be altered. Because perhaps you can look back and say, well, okay, I was afraid. And what was the worst thing that happened? Ironically, as I've said about my parents, one being very extroverted, my mother would get up in the morning, run down the road, start naked, putting her clothes on. Let's go. Life is here for us. And yet my father would be saying, wait a minute. Hold on. I got to see which way the wind is blowing. Do you have your umbrella? You need a mattress. Let's check out forecasts. So I have that dynamic in me. One is go at it. The other one is cautious. And I've learned to use that. Can you identify that in your family, in your relationships with your kin? Can you identify that with work environments? Most importantly, can you identify that with your own behavior? Meaning, action, reflection. So let's dig deep. How does anxiety help or hinder you? First thing, and these are kind of random, at the same time, these are observations and perspectives that I've been recording over a period of time. I would say, to a great extent, the people around you are probably some of the most influential, positive or negative elements in your life. So if you have this anxiety, if you experience anxiety under different situations, they're not, hopefully, they don't arrest you in everything you do. At the same time, can you reflect and see what causes that anxiety? And people, your support mechanism, right? Do they help you to at least get past the event, that moment, that high anxiety moment? Maybe not the whole day, maybe not the whole week, maybe not even a month, just the event. And if they don't, did you recognize it? Did you realize that perhaps they are the anvil? Did you recognize that perhaps they are the curmudgeon in your life that you need to let go of? Is it the decision process? Is it the decision itself? Or is it the outcome that you fear and that holds you back? I repeat from what I said earlier, if you looked at your life, notice, if you looked at your life, and you realize that the communication you're engaged in keeps repeating, called a doom loop. Alan Weiss, $1 million consultant, talks about, and he's a PhD in psychology, he talks about a doom loop where you allow yourself a certain amount of freedom, your anxiety builds, your apprehension builds, your unknowing builds, and then you revert back to somewhat of a destructive behavior. The destructive behavior builds up, you get tired of it, you feel that you need to release it, you do so, it comes back into that freedom moment, that thought of possibilities. Is the research, the resources that you have, the people you have around you, do they help you push a little bit further? Your 1 inch, go 1.5, a quarter, a millimeter. You still push on. The mind will do that for you. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself. You're not looking for a home run. Take that off the board. You're not looking for a home run. You want to steal first base. I'll go for second. Do you find that you are a propeller or a blocker personality? Propeller, to move forward, to thrust, to keep going, to find answers? Or do you find that you actually are the type of personality that you're always cautious? As I mentioned to you, what I have recognized with my parents, one was definitely a propeller. My mother was go, go, go. No, academically, fine. She wasn't one of the, what we consider today, which is the very few, where everything they do is wonderful, great, and yet their personality sucks. Right? Control, everything has to be their way. On the other hand, my father was very introverted, very cautious, very uncertain. Both have positive aspects, both have hindering aspects. Many people might say, well, the person that wants to go rock and roll, that's not my personality. I'm more of a hold back type person. That's fine. It's how you use that recognized asset. That's what we're driving at. What is the opposite of anxiety in your life? Not from a textbook. Oh, they'll lay it out. Google it. Google opposite of anxiety, and you'll get academic and you'll get factual research definitions. My question, and what I've again experienced out here with people, is what does it mean to you? How has your life interpreted that experience, that emotional stimulation, that electrical charge in your life? What is the communication? Is it telling you to trust, or is it telling you to distrust? You connect through joy, love. What is love? Love is a dangerous word. Yes, it is. It is a very dangerous word. And we've seen it time and time again in all kinds of psychology books, social behavior, acceptance groups, norms, theology. Love is a dangerous word. Connection to family, emotional understanding, honesty, and alignment of intent. We've said this before, certainly if you're working as a cabinet, trustee group, an executive board, the intent is everything. The alignment cannot be expected. A full alignment cannot be expected if the intent is diffused or not recognized and then addressed. It's not that the opposites will stop you from doing something. That's not the issue here. And I think a lot of people miss that. If you and I are talking and we find that there's a disconnect, many people feel and act, as in politics, as in theology. Let's take the two big gazillion-dollar gorillas or gazillion-pound gorillas in the room. Many of us will say, well, we have nothing in common. When in point in fact, in negotiation, mediation, arbitration, that is the perfect time. When we've now identified that there is a difference. And if we are somewhat, just a teeny bit intelligent, we'll say, let's discuss further. Please explain to me, where does that thinking come from? What reference do you have? I would like to know more. That's fascinating. Please tell me more. That's the response. Not this ugly, small-minded, insecure child that comes in the room and tries to bully us. Getting the facts. When we talk about not quitting, do we have all the facts? The facts could be your past experience. The facts could be the perspective that you're taking. The facts could be the bias that you bring to a table. There's a great report about strategic psychology that Mackenzie just wrote, and I'm going to share it to some of my contacts out here. I'll probably post it here as well. And it talks about the unconscious bias that we bring into any conversation. because we're only focused on our outcomes. We're only focusing on our outcomes instead of looking at an eclectic, broader perspective that can include more people, that can get better results, broader results, long-term sustainable outcomes. We need to use the business acumen in our private life and our emotional passion and convictions in our business life. We need to learn to blend those. We need to learn to broaden our understanding that they are one of the same. We have crafted business to be the end-all, be-all, and yet many express that I want to go my own way. I want to now retire and do what I really love to do. I think we've lied to ourselves in that respect. In that respect, we do not trust ourselves. In that respect, you see so many people looking to quit out of life, out of their life, which is sad, even more sad. So we talk about types of anxiety, floating generalized worry. Everything is wrong, nothing is right. Not attaching any anchor to the emotional charge. Recurring memories of thought. These are a little bit more, certainly more anchored. Your past experience, what someone told you, and what subsequently came to be. Attacks brought on by a trigger, smell, sound, a touch, an environment, a visual. A random pain and anxiety. You know, they talk about metaphysics. We talk about how an emotion can create ulcers in the body. It can create pain. It can create spinal issues. The mind is talking to you. It's communicating to you. It's telling you something is not right. Are you paying attention? Can you pay attention? Do you know how to pay attention? Insomnia and anxiety. I think one great answer for insomnia, identify something you like. Anything. Ant colonies. I had one as a kid. I found it fascinating. NASA. It was affordable. The pictures from Apollo when they were landing on the moon. I have them next door in my library. It was fascinating. 40, 50 years later, I'm still interested. It still allows me to look at other things in an exploratory manner. I don't have to have the PhD. I don't have to have the public recognition. Fortunately for social media, we can all express ourselves. And we can express ourselves in a constructive, meaningful manner so that we pull, we talk about the physics of the world, of the universe, we can pull other people to us and speak earnestly and honestly, and even with our limited vocabulary at this time, at this point in juncture, we can speak intelligently with one another, sharing. That goes right back to our tenets, our 6 tenets. Certainty, we need certainty in our lives. Uncertainty, discover, exploration, excitement. We need significance. We need connection. We need growth. Connection, growth. Connect to the right people. Connect to yourself in the right way. Treat yourself. You've heard that expression. Growth and then contribution. Help others to grow. Help others to be free. Help others to go further than you have. Without any kind of harness, any kind of judgment, any kind of I expected. So our physicality, identify to create and recreate, to learn. Learning is so important. Learning is not just the academics. And in fact, they found through much studies in youth, young children, it is the inquisitiveness that we lose as adults. I'm going to do a small series, and it's going to be As the Sun Rises. And every now and again, I'll hear the birds just before the light hits the horizon. Not the sun, the light itself. And the birds will be very busy, very busy. It's almost like they're in anticipation of what the day will bring. Unfortunately, most of us are still trying to turn over, throw that clock against the wall, and deny that we exist. The sound of the wind, I'm not sure if you can hear it. Can you appreciate that? Executive director in charge of global operations. Supervisor manager in charge of 200, 300, 20 people. Can you appreciate that? Or do you only recognize it when it comes and blows away people's homes, as in hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis? Can you smell life? Or have you forgotten that emotional charge? Have you given up? Have you quit that engagement with life itself? It's interesting. I wrote an English essay when I was about 11 years old, and we used to go hiking every Sunday. Every Sunday, the school, Prior Park College, you can Google it, Prior Park College, in Bath. The prep school was in Swindon, Wiltshire. We'd go hiking every Sunday. It was probably one of the most excitable times of my life, and still to this day. Perhaps that's why I still go hiking. We got a 2-mile track out here. If you look at some of my earlier live videos, you'll see White Bog's Blueberry Farm, which is a blueberry farm. It's bogs. It's a beautiful panorama. Thank you. Panorama of preserved land. So when we talk about 6 stages of life, it's a continuation. It's not something that you just start and stop. Yes, you may physically do that. Yet the core, the essence of that experience lingers on forever. And you can pass that on to others. But these were experiences that even today I draw on, I draw upon. And you can, no matter how old you are, physically, age, you can draw upon that and or begin and enjoy it for yourself. You know, it blows me away when I see these people in these suburban settings, and they're carrying their big stick and they're walking on purpose. Well, I go into the woods and I just stand still sometimes and I just listen. I listen to life. Do you have to wait to be on your deathbed to do that? Really? You don't trust yourself that that moment is needed? That change? Scratching the record? Tony Robbins uses that expression. Scratch the record. Interrupt the signal. Change the signal. So, we spoke about, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here, the point of today's discussion, do you trust yourself? And we started off with Don't Quit, which is a plaque that, and a verse, prose, poetry, if you will. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, do you have anything of this nature that you can call on, that's intimate to you, that you hold dear to you? Don't hide it. Don't make it something that you're embarrassed about. Your strength comes from inside. Your strength comes from recognizing your vulnerability. Your strength comes from knowing your humanity. Check in with your 6 stages. Certainty. Balance that. Uncertainty. Make it stimulate you. Make it fearful and manageable at the same time. Significance. Be significance to someone else. For someone else. For something else. Connection. Connect to the right people. LinkedIn gives you default scripts. I think it's an insult. I really do. It's unbelievable. If you don't know how to say to somebody, hey Greg, you know, I see that you watching my live videos. I see you do some poetry. And a guy the other day just shared some poetry with me. Can I share that with you? If you can't even do that, there is a serious disruption in our humanity, in our fundamental ability to reach out to one another. Growth comes from stumbling, comes from fumbling, comes from not getting life right. We're the only creature on the planet. I know you know this, but do you think about it? We're pretty much the only creature on the planet. Wolves, large mammals, whales, elephants certainly do it, have long social fermentation periods. We're one of the few that we spend 20, 25 years in some cases. I know it's not for everybody. And yet we still get life wrong. Most other animals have minutes, maybe just seconds to get their act together once they're birthed. We have months of care and preparation and protection, and yet we don't appreciate life. Animals are eaten by their elders as soon as they're able to move. Many are swooped up by predators as soon as they emerge from their sheltered environments. In most cases, we are protected for extended periods of time. The cannibalism in humans comes later. Do you appreciate that? Can you understand that? Can you trust yourself to believe and act based on the experiences you've had, the experiences you want, the experiences you can craft? Can you communicate that to yourself? Can you manage change through effective communications with yourself? This is Ronald Allen, managing change through effective communications. You know where to find me.